Let's build the perfect college football video game. I think College Football 25 was an incredible start, especially knowing that from NCAA 14 all the way to College Football 25 is over a decade gap in time. So much, they missed an entire generation of gaming. And so to be able to build a video game with such a strong start is a great sign for the development of what EA could make. But I'm going to take everything and throw it out the window. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm asking too much out of a company. I know what video games can be when they actually apply themselves and put the effort and throw the money and the greed aside. So if I had the complete control of what college football and beyond would look like, this is what the game modes would be. And before we dive in, check if you are subscribed, because all we do is talk about college football right here. I only ask you one thing. Just give me a chance to talk college football. Whether it's a like, comment, subscribe, anything across the board would mean the world to me. We are on the path to 10,000 subscribers by this summer. Overall, it is to the end of the year, but I think we could hit to the summertime. So it'd be incredible if you help me along this way. I post daily short form content, and I try to post 2 to 3 times a month with high quality long form videos. So please just give me a chance to talk football with you, but we're gonna go ahead and talk about some video games real quick. Like I said, I think College Football 25 is a really good start. It was a good baseline, but we're gonna double click into every single game mode and some additional ideas. But I want this to be collaborative. If there's something I'm missing, I'm not thinking of, it's just my perspective of playing this video game, let me know down in the comments below. And I want this to be a multi-part series where we build on top of this and we could go look back and see what EA adds or forgets. With the first game mode, we have to start with Road to Glory. I feel like Road to Glory was the forgotten game mode throughout this process. This is no disrespect to any of the developers, but it just kind of felt like an unfinished product, as well as the hype leading into the release date of College Football 25. When we found out that there was no high school football to be played, to earn your offers, to go through the recruiting process, the air was left out of the building. The balloon had become deflated. Pair that with the fact that, yeah, there's about a decade's time from the last generation to play a good Road to Glory, and all those people that wanted to play the next iteration of college football, we have all matured and grown over time, so the mystique and the aura, I guess, of this game mode kind of lost its flavor, kind of lost its sizzle, I guess. And it's not to say it can't be a good version or a good game mode. I just think when you make it kind of prescriptive, where I'm clicking what is going to be my star rating, what's going to be my start overall, then I have a good selection of what teams I could be just because I'm selecting what overall I'm going to be. Then most of us are out of college as well, so you're throwing us right back in, trying to up our GPA, trying to go through NIL deals, which I'm fine with, but it just kind of became repetitive and not as fun as well when there was a bunch of glitches and bugs within this specific game mode. I remember the lighting being an issue for months on end. It just felt like a forgotten game mode. So here's some of the things that I would add to revitalize what Road to Glory could be. I think high school has to be involved in some sort of fashion, and I think it will be. I think they hear the feedback after College Football 25. It's going to be an easy addition. I think earning, the offers and building up to your selection process, to me, I would add a cutscene where you could fake out which hat you want to do. Do like one of the generic commitment screens. I mean, add some fun into the recruitment process would, I think, really make this unique in terms of what this game mode could be. I would even throw in, a partnership with On3, Rivals, one of the recruiting websites or multiple ones. Make it feel like, hey, I could see where I am on this website for ESPN or On3 and try to become the #1 overall recruit on these websites would be really fun additions. Not to mention those partnerships with those recruiting websites could be implemented into Dynasty, which I could talk about a little bit later. I would even throw in 7-on-7 camps, do things outside of high school football to boost what my stars can be. Let's all talk about it. In 2025, not going to these camps, not doing these 7-on-7 sessions can limit what your recruiting ranking could be. Let it be opportunities where I'm prioritizing myself to try to go be a part of this and boost my ranking. I also think you got to let people pick whatever position they want to play. If they want to be a left guard, let them go be a left guard. If they want to go be a safety, go let them be a safety. The limiting of positions in any career mode is always mind-boggling to me. Don't assume that no one wants to go be a center. If there's someone out there, at least one, that wants to go play a center for their road to glory and go break the pancake record, I don't know, maybe they want to be the Orlando Pace and somehow get into the Heisman ceremony as an offensive lineman, let them try to break the limits of the game. That's what video games are for. But outside of that, Road to Glory, I think is pretty straightforward. These additions would at least make the start of those files a lot more interesting. I understand a lot of people want like a yard system where in Madden you can compete with other players' characters. I'm not as invested into that, but if there's enough people that want it, I think there's something you could do in college football to replicate something like that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who prefer the style and the gameplay of college football compared to Madden, and they want to be able to take the thing that they see in the yard and put it into the college football environment. But let's get to the meat and potatoes. Dynasty. Now, I got a long list of things we have to add into Dynasty because I think it's the best game mode in college football 25, but it also has the biggest area to grow. First things first, we have to have crossplay Dynasty. I think it's egregious that it wasn't in the first iteration. I do feel like EA has a tendency to keep things off the table a little bit until they can get to the next iteration. They don't want to give you the full buffet yet. They kind of want to limit things until the next course. I think college football crossplay Dynasty was one of those things, as well as high school football. I think you also have to have a better record of statistics from year to year. Let me paint you a picture real quick. One of the problems I have is I'll have a file that I started all the way back in November. And sometimes life happens. I can't go back into that Dynasty file for, say, a month. I get back onto the video games and I want to go play that same exact file and pick up those storylines again. But I need to remember some of the things that have happened. Maybe I'm in the year 10. And I want to go see what happened when I started. What were the years that I had a national championship? Who won a Heisman on this year? There's no real good log of being able to see the stats and the awards from year to year. You have the totality where you could see the all-time records, the school records, the conference records, the long-term overarching records, but you don't have the yearly ones, the annual stats that you can go look back on. I understand it's probably a very large database to hold on to, but listen here, I want to be able to look back at what happened in 2026 compared to 2032. I want to be able to stretch the statistics that far. I don't think it's that big of an ask. Recruiting, I think, is a solid start. I think it's a little repetitive. I love the format and the system. I think there could be a little bit more variance. I think some of the player skills, and I think there could just be a larger range. Sometimes the archetype that we see with receiving backs and power backs, though you could have some really incredible players, I think it's pretty formulaic on what to expect in terms of traits. The power back's usually going to have, 89 speed with 91 acceleration and a lot more traits, while the receiving back's going to have 91 with 93 acceleration and like safety valve. I think we can get a little bit more creative. Maybe there's a receiving archetype 1 and then power back type 2. I don't know. We could get a little bit more creative because right now, after playing it for like 6+ months, it feels pretty formulaic at this point. I also think a nice twist to it would go back to the partnership with those recruiting websites, and maybe one guy's higher on another guy's board, and then you have to kind of decipher, is this truly the #1 overall player, or is it off the ESPN recruiting website where they have this #1 player? I think of, Travis Hunter. He was the #1 guy across multiple boards, but ESPN had Walter Nolan. Is ESPN smarter than everyone else? Or was it always going to be Travis Hunter, which it ended up being? And to my understanding, there is the flipping of recruits, but I want to be notified of this. I think sometimes you have to be detailed to a point where you remember that a player is committed to you, and sometimes it's flipped and you don't even get a notification. These should be big moments. I don't think there is any reason to not have recruiting flips. Maybe someone really sends the house at the last minute, they offer an NIL deal, guy flips. It's just the nature of the sport. I think it would be really intriguing if we added something like that. I would also flip in a system for the transfer portal where I think of, like in Madden, where they have the meter of interest. Don't lock me out of a guy where they're immediately not going to contact me. I would say there's a range where maybe I have a long chance where I send the house and everything clicks and I just get lucky and all of a sudden he comes over to my team. For the transfer portal, I would just tweak it to a point where I don't want to be locked out of every single guy. Maybe I just have a very low chance, but at least it's a chance. Maybe I can connect all the dots and get someone there. I would also throw in the no contact tag. I think that would be a really fun addition versus not lining up to the grading system of the coaching prestige, the pro prestige. You know what I'm talking about. More to a point of there's a guy that he knows where he's going and he's going to make that move. Next one being the top 25 sim has to be better. It just does. It's egregiously bad. The playoff system's just really bad. I can't implore you enough. They've tried to fix it throughout this year and it kind of just feels like a buggy system. You got to make that top 25 simulator so much better because I'm seeing just some really weird instances and it just seems like something that you have to get a formula down and make sure it works, because I should not be seeing like teams that are under 500 in the top 25, which I've seen time and time again. And I thought the real life top 25 was bad. College football 25 has it beaten pretty easily. The next thing is just stadium builder and team builder. Pretty simple. That's what everyone wants. Add it. This one is not as likely, but it's a dream edition. I want to be able to change the name of conferences and add my own logos. I just want to bring back the Southwest Conference and the Big 8 Conference. Shouldn't be that difficult, but I doubt they'll ever do it. I think the Heisman ceremony should be a cutscene after every single game. I think, honestly, the trophy system where you win a bowl game is one of the more iconic things about college football, and it should be a pretty formulaic cutscene. I don't care if it's like the same thing, just different logos, but the Heisman one should be straightforward, and the bowl games should be pretty straightforward. I think of every single time I watched a bowl game, it immediately cuts to the little mini stage. You hoist open the trophy. It's pretty self-explanatory. I shouldn't just have a logo on the home screen that says, oh, you're a winner with a little bit of confetti. I think it's pretty basic and generic. And before I close out the chapter for Dynasty, I would be remiss if I didn't mention just player customization. I know a lot of people are going to want that. I think that one's a pretty dicey one to try to tackle just based on everything around college football and the player likeness. I don't know if they'll ever let us doing that, but in a perfect world where I'm building a college football video game, of course, I want to be able to edit recruiting classes and upload them. I think that would be really fun. But I promise you, this is the one that I want the most feedback on, because even though I gave a long list for Dynasty, I think there's plenty of other additions that could be added that I think would be really, really fun. But let's pivot to the least favorite mode by most of the public, Ultimate Team. I've said this time and time again, Ultimate Team has the potential to be the best game mode in any sports game because at its core, the logic behind it of being able to build a team with current and past legends is super fun. But corporate greed and lack of attention to detail ruins it every single time. We've seen good versions of Ultimate Team, we just haven't seen it in a while. I think of, Madden Mobile, I think Madden 25, not this past one, but the old one was really fun iterations. NCAA 14 had a fun Ultimate Team. This one, not so much. So here are some of the changes I would make. If you ever played a draft mode in any Madden game, I thought Draft Champions was amazing. Though it was kind of forgotten as time progressed, the first iterations of Draft Champions was really fun. I see no reason why college football can't implement something like it and call it the transfer portal. Find something creative. It would be an elite version of the game. Because frankly, not everyone's going to be able to play with that 97 Johnny Manziel card. Not everyone's going to have the time to try to grind for that. Let them at least have a 4-game opportunity to play with the base version of that card. Because I think it's ridiculous to gatekeep something like that if you're never going to add historical teams to the basic play now. There are so many people that would love to play with a Virginia Tech Michael Vick, a 2012 Manziel, 2014 Mariota, but they won't have that opportunity because they're not willing to pull out their checkbook for a $60 game that they've already paid for. If they're not going to pull out their checkbook, they're going to put in their time. And that's why I think challenges, if you've never played this, challenges are usually the solo thing that you can get some rewards. You're not going to have to play anybody online. It's a great opportunity to build up some rewards for free. My problem is they're just way too damn easy. I mean, I'm telling you, it's just 30 yards on rookie mode to just get 3 stars. And I think it's super formulaic, it's boring. Make the challenges harder, but then make the rewards a little bit better, I think would be a great addition. Because it goes to the main point of my argument in this. The fact that if I were to pick up the game today, never played college football 25 and I want to get into Ultimate Team, I will either have to pick up my checkbook or put a ton of time into this game in order to get a competitive team. And I think that's ridiculous. There needs to be a balance to reward the players who have started from day one and built their ultimate teams over time, make it exclusive season cards, because I'm fine with the, battle pass system that you can't pay to play to get into, that it's basically you just grind, and the more you play the game, the more rewards you get. Give some like exclusive cards that only those players can get, and also have a way where a casual player can pick up the game today and be able to get a competitive team. There's got to be a balance, because it really feels like the level of entry is difficult if you don't want to put your checking account onto your game. But if you are to do that, there needs to be transparency on all packs. There's some odds on some packs, but then there's no odds on other packs. There needs to be odds across the board, because it's glorified gambling, if we're being honest here. I want to know, what are the odds I get a 99 on this pack? What are the odds I get a 97? And some of them you do get that, but I think the ones that I don't believe you put your actual like points, because they have the point system where you pay for points and you pay for packs with that. If you do it with coins, or I think they're training currency, you don't get to see the transparency on that. I want it across the board. And lastly, if I'm going to pay for these players and the upper tier players, make them look like those players. Johnny Manziel does not look like Johnny Manziel. Cam Newton, Kyler Murray, they still look like the generic cards that I can go recruit in Dynasty. It doesn't make sense to me. The fact that EA has the same entitlements of Kyler Murray and Madden, can't put the same face scan into College Football 25 and at least make him look like Kyler Murray. If I'm going to pay for these players, at least make them look like them. It's the attention to detail like that that boggles my mind. It does not make sense to me. But let's shift to Play Now Online, because now we're in the area that these are very quick changes, and then I have some ideas that we could add on top. I think the tier system works, it just needs to be updated more often. That goes across the board with any sports video game. Updates need to be a lot more consistent. And also just let me choose a uniform. I hate having to always play with the same 2 uniforms regardless of what team I pick. As well, let me pick a playbook. I get it. You want to keep the familiarity to the singular team. I don't care. Let me be able to play with whatever playbook with whatever team. I think that's dumb to force someone into a specific team because of one playbook. And outside of that, I mean, we get into gameplay issues, but I'm kind of keeping my hands off with gameplay because it's so subjective and it gets its own video, to be frank. But let's talk about additional changes before my camera dies. I want a college football playoff game mode. Let me just simulate a college football playoff run. I think it'd be pretty simple. I think it'd be a fun thing to do where I can pick what teams I want into a college football playoff and run a simulation. Let me put Kennesaw State with like the 11 top teams and see how far I can go. I think that's pretty simple. I shouldn't have to go through a dynasty to do so. I think a historical moments with a game like college football is very easy to do. Let me do a Josh Rosen comeback on my Texas A&M Aggies. I think historical moments is something that you could refresh as time progresses. It's not something that can just be done in Ultimate Team, because I know they do that. I know that they make those historical moments as challenges. I want it to be a normal thing that I can do in any type of game. And it goes to my other point, because if you're going to do that, you need historical teams. And I think there should be historical teams in Play Now. I don't care how demanding I'm being right now. I don't care how unrealistic it is. Find a way to get it done. Add historical teams. I think it would be such a fun thing to do if I can add historical teams into a Play Now simulation or into the college football playoffs. Because in my perfect world, I can build a college football playoff system of 12 teams that could have made it in the 4-team playoff system. I think of, I guess the Penn State year, the 2014 TCU team, 2020 Texas A&M, and load them up and see who was the biggest snub champion. I think that would be a fun idea, don't you? But with that being said, I'm out of breath, camera's almost out, battery's probably gonna die here any second. These are all my ideas. I would love to hear what ideas you guys have. If you agree with mine, if you disagree, let me know. Any feedback is truly appreciated. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch today's video, and I will see you guys next time.